So good morning everyone and welcome to the class back on smart materials and structures. So can anyone let me know what we dealt in yesterday's class? What was the topic we dealt upon?
And we learned about magneto and electrorheological fluid working principle, components of both the fluids, advantages and disadvantages, and we started about mechanism and properties.
Okay. So we dealt about what basically our ER fluid, its working principle, the components associated with it, and also we compared our electrorheological fluid with respect to our magnetorheological fluid aspect. So we also came to know which is more better and feasible enough to use for any fluid, smart fluid applications. So after knowing the entire concept of working, the mechanism behind it, the components which are used, it is always essential to know in depth which are the properties and the mechanisms which are involved, whether it is an ER based fluid or an MR based fluid. So for that we need to know some of the mechanisms. There are mainly three kind of mechanisms. So we have to study about that, and also some aspects or the main properties which are associated with ER and MR fluids. So to start up, let us dig from the beginning related to the importance or some background picture for the mechanisms associated with electrorheological and magnetorheological fluids. So I dealt about this slide in the last class just to brief out what does it mean. So you know that ER and MR effects comes into picture in a given fluid when it responds to the given electrical field or magnetic field. If the given smart fluid responds to electrical field, then it is electrorheological fluid. Wherein if the given fluid responds to the magnetic field, then that smart fluid is classified as MR fluid. So this MR fluid and ER fluid are bifurcated due to the electrorheological effects and magnetorheological effects which comes into picture when you subject an electric field or magnetic field. So you know about this basically, right? So these structures actually have aggregations of very minute solid particles, right? So these will be of either in the micron or in the nanoscale. So these are nothing but the additives what we add on in the smart fluid. So if you add on the additives in MR fluid, then you should have basically the ion particles or any other particles which has good magnetic flux absorbing capabilities. Similarly, if you are going for ER fluid, it is totally an dielectric material wherein you'll be adding some solid particles which has a tendency to provide some conductance in the fluid so that the electrical current can pass through. So it depends mainly on which effect you are using. So based on that, the fluid particles will be selected. And hence these solid particles, you will be having an aggregation of n number of solid particles which will flow in the fluid. So the fluid usually will be an oil, it could be an synthetic oil, or it could be any naturally available oil, even including the vegetable oil also, right? So mainly in the flow of the fluid, this solid particles will dominate. Why? Because it is the main thing which responds to either the magnetic field or to the electric field. So once it responds to the given field, it gets arranged in a proper order, which helps in enhancing the viscosity of the fluid. That you can know, right? So this particle will dominate the flow of the fluid. And due to this dominance and restriction in the flow of the fluid, what does it help? It can prevent the flow entirely at the lower stresses. So the flow of the fluid will be reduced. It reduces the amount of stress which could be induced in the fluid. Why? Because if you have just a fluid, suppose you speak about MR fluid. So you have a normal fluid and you subject a pressure to it so that the fluid flows. If you don't have the particles in between, what happens is viscosity will not increase and there will be no barrier for the flow of the fluid, and hence the stress will be more. But whereas when you have some particles embedded in the fluid, these acts as a barrier for the flow of the fluid. In return, they form an structure arranged one above the other, like a network connection, which helps in improving the viscosity. So if you are finding again difficulty, you can see the slides before what we have explained. Here only you can see. So initially in MR fluid, you will be having a fluid, and these are the particles which will be associated in random. If you don't have this particles at all, then you will be having only the fluid. So if you apply the pressure, there will be some stress in the fluid to make the fluid move on, right? But when you add these particles will reduce the stress which comes in the fluid. Why? This pressure helps the fluid to arrange in a proper order when you subject it to a magnetic field in the direction opposite to the pressure. Due to this arrangement, there is a barrier for the fluid to flow, right? So that's what being told over here. Hope you understood now. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the same thing is still, and due to this, it helps in reducing the stress, and hence the stress will be low, and the main dominant feature in the flow of fluid will be the solid particles. It could be either the ER fluid or MR fluid. In both, we will be using some particles, and those particles will be the dominant feature in the flow of fluid, and this helps in reducing the amount of stresses subjected in the fluid. So this is the second concept what you have to understand. One is ER and MR will respond to the electric or magnetic field. Second one, when you have these additives in the ER and MR fluid, the particles will be more dominant than that of the fluid, because these particles will reduce the stress which comes into picture in the moving of the fluid when it is subjected to the top and the bottom plate. Right? So this is a second main concept what you have to keep in mind, whether it is an ER fluid or MR fluid. Okay. So based on this, now we need to discuss the microscopic phenomena and some basic models corresponding to the macro scale fluid mechanics. Why we are focusing on macro scale fluid mechanics? Because I told you the particles are dominant in the fluid. So particles what you have in the fluid is of either the macro scale or nano scale. So to analyze the fluid mechanics funda due to the solid particles which is at micro or nano scale, you should develop some basic models. You cannot see that in the human eye because it is in macro and nano. And hence you have to develop some model and analyze the microscopic phenomena based on this model to realize the macro scale analysis of the fluid mechanics, right? So to understand this type of mechanics, we have some basic models. If it was not in micro and nano scale, then these basic models were not needed. In order to analyze the micro scale level of the fluid mechanics, it is necessary to understand the concept of the fluid behavior and its composition using some basic models, right? So in basic models, we have three categories. One is the fluid composition and the behavior. So when you have a particle in the fluid which is embedded between the top and the bottom plate, you should understand what is the composition of the given fluid, what is the quantity of the fluid you have, what was the previous viscosity of that fluid. Due to addition of this particle, the viscosity is increasing. So what is the grade of viscosity of that particular oil, right? And how does it behave, the fluid what you are using, how does it behave when it is subjected to pressure, if it is case of MR fluid, or else how the fluid behaves when it is subjected to an electrical field if it is an ER fluid. So you have to analyze the composition of the fluid and its behavior. So this is the one thing what we have to understand and a basic model for macro scale fluid mechanics. The second one is the discovery and early development. It is not a new concept. Now people are working on this. No, this concept came very in the beginning in 90s only, around 1916, 1918, and it was well established by 1948 also. But there were no application related to ER and MR fluid. Only now the devices are coming out. MR fluid was there from many long years. In comparison to that level, the ER fluid are little bit latest. Okay, but still many people try to learn and discover many things related to the smart fluids. So you should understand what were the discovery and the early developments which was made related to our ER and MR fluids. All these are there in the syllabus. Please don't neglect any concept. Everything plays a vital role in making you to understand the concept of ER and MR, the mechanism and its properties. Okay, so in discovery and early developments, many people developed some basic models. So one was associated with Bingham plastic and related model. So this was the first basic model developed by some researchers based on our macro scale fluid mechanics. And nextly, some people worked on pre-yield response. So I told you, we need to understand what is the pre-yield stress of the given material. So based on the pre-yield response, some basic models were derived. And lastly, post-yield flow. Before, what was a pre-yield stress, and after the reaction and subjection of the pressure or the electrical field, what is the stress being obtained after the entire process? So that is a post-yield stress. So we are supposed to identify what is the pre-yield stress, what is the post-yield stress subjected in the fluid which is flowing, and what is the geometry of the device within which the fluid is kept and the pressure is applied or the electric field is applied. So all these three things plays a very vital role in developing any basic model for the macro scale study of the fluid mechanics in case of either ER or MR fluid. So once these basic models are thorough enough, then we have to speak about the material properties associated with magnetic rheological fluid as well as the electrical rheological fluid. So that related to the material properties we will be coming in the later stages. This only will take a long period of time. You have to understand three basic models, and you should know the discovery and the early developments which are done in ER and MR fluid. Before that, you should know exactly what is the composition of the fluid and how to understand and analyze the behavior of the given fluid, whether it is ER or MR fluid. So these are the main mechanisms which are involved in our ER and MR fluid. It is not specific, okay, this is asked only for ER fluid only, that this is asked only for MR fluid. In the examination, if they ask you to describe the mechanism involved in analyzing a macro scale fluid mechanics associated to ER and MR effect or ER and MR fluid, you should explain all the available mechanisms and you should see the marks to how much it has been asked, and you should be able to manage time and give your best answer to the question which has been asked. If you are able to respond to the question exactly, you will really get full marks. And it's always better to explain with respect to some examples, right? So that Ivan will put forward more weightage for your answers. So these are the things you have to keep in mind when you're writing an answer, either in an internals or an examination. So with this background, I'm just starting up with fluid composition and its behavior. So here we are focusing both related to ER and MR fluid. So when we come for the mechanism, the mind, what you have to set is we are speaking about the smart fluids. It could be either ER or MR. Don't think, okay, is it only for MR? Yeah, is it only for ER? No. Both the fluid is of same nature. Only thing, the external pressure or the external electric field what you apply will be different. Okay, and the entire process is same. So whenever we say I'm giving you the explanation for the fluid composition, It is just the smart fluid, which could be either ER or MR fluid. Hope this is there in your mind. Is it clear?
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
guys. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So with this background, now we are starting with the fluid composition and its behavioral analysis. So here both ER and MR fluids are suspended with particles. The particles are the solid particles, right? So this act as an inert carrier liquids. Okay. So whenever I say ER or MR fluid, one thing you have to keep in mind is the fluids are suspended with some particles, and these particles act as an inert carrier liquid. So it will be iron particles in case of MR fluid, and it will be any other conductive particles in case of ER fluid. So these particles, what we were calling here until now as an additives, in future it will be called as an inert carrier liquids. Okay, and this is the first thing what you have to understand. And secondly, I have told you already, the particles which are suspended in the fluid will be of either the micrometer size or in nanometer size. If it is in micrometer size, it is in the range of 1 to 10 micrometer. Okay, so these particles will be added to the given oil. So the oil is nothing but the fluid. So the fluid could be either the mineral oil or the silicon oil. So in weight fraction, the fluid has a 50% quantity of it, wherein the particles what we add on could be around 30% weight percentage, right? So usually if this is 30%, it should be larger than 50, means exactly it will be near to 70. If you are taking 30% weight percentage as a particle, then 70 weight percentage of the fluid of the liquid media should be fluid. So you take 70% of the mineral oil, your silicon oil, and you add 30% of the particles of micrometer size. So this will be the media of the fluid composition what we will be analyzing. So whenever from now if I say fluid composition, it is a fluid of 70 weight percentage and 30% weight particles of the active materials what we are using, which is called as inert carrier liquids. So this will be the composition of the fluid. 70% fluid and 30% is a solid particle. So after knowing the fluid composition, what you have to understand is most of the ER and MR fluid also contain a very small amount of additives that affect the polarization of the particle or stabilize the structure of the suspension against setting. So this actually is an important aspect in case of ER fluid. Why? Because in ER fluid, the particles what we add in is also called as additives, and these are conductive materials. So if you add those conductive materials, when you subject an electrical field through the fluid, the polarization of the particles takes place. And due to the polarization of the particles get aligned. The negative charge will attract towards the positive, again the positive charge with respect to the negative, and it gets aligned and make the network connection, which helps in improving the viscosity of the fluid. But once the electric field is removed, it gets depolarized. But that is not the case in case of piezoelectric material, right? So here these particles are called to be as active additives. So it is also known as carrier liquids, and it is also known as additives or the solid particles which is added in the fluid. So this also helps in improving the polarization of the particles. This thing is a third point what you have to understand. So this is a third composition concept. So one thing is both ER and MR fluid are called as the fluids suspended with the particles, and these particles are called as inert carrier liquids. And coming to the composition, it will be having 70% of the fluid and 30% of the particles, right? And in both the ER and MR fluid, the additives, the particles what we use are also called as additives. Okay. So when you subject an external electric field, it helps in polarization of the particle. Someone has not muted your mic. Kindly mute in. I think it is Sandesh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so this is about the additives, which is called to be as the particles. And now, this is all what we are speaking with respect to subjecting the electrical or magnetic field. But when in the fluid, there is an absence of electric or magnetic field, the ER or MR fluid can be characterized as a Newtonian fluid. Okay, so Newtonian fluid, we have studied that in the fluid mechanics. What do you mean by Newtonian? Anyone can tell me? Anyone know the difference between Newtonian fluid and non-Newtonian fluid? So in the absence of electrical field or the magnetic field, this ER or MR fluid will be called to be as a Newtonian fluid. What do you mean by it? A Newtonian fluid, irrespective of the pressure, your flow, your whatever is there, the viscosity of the fluid remains the same. With respect to the applied pressure or the load, the viscosity of the fluid will not increase. Okay, so these are Newtonian fluid. But when you subject it to an electrical or a magnetic field, the ER and MR fluid is called to be as a non-Newtonian fluid. Why? It helps in improving the viscosity of that particular liquid. So one more major concept what you have to understand here is whenever there is no external electric or magnetic field, the ER or MR fluid will act as a Newtonian fluid. But when you have an ER, but when you have an electric or magnetic field in the fluid, then it behaves as a non-Newtonian fluid. The reason is it helps in increasing the viscosity of the fluid if you subject it to electrical or magnetical field. So third main concept is ER and MR fluid behaves like Newtonian when there is no subjection of the external field, and when there is a subjection of the external field, ER or MR fluid behaves like an non-Newtonian fluid. So these are the theoretical concepts one has to understand related to the fluid composition, what we are using. It could be either for ER or for MR fluid, right? And now when there is a magnetic field applied and one of the plate will be moving and one of the plate will be fixed at the bottom, then due to that, always when the viscosity increases, it shows resistance to the strain also. So resisting the shear strain from here onwards will be represented by the letter gamma. Okay, we are just telling the terminologies and the concept before starting. And the stress, the shear stress which is being induced will be represented by the symbol tau, right? So from here onwards, the resisting shear strain will be proportional to the shear stress which is being induced in the given fluid. Okay. So these two values will be proportional to the product of the strain rate and the viscosity. So if we go to the equation, so this is a basic equation what you have to understand. What it tells you is the shear stress will be always equal to that of the shear strain. Where did it go? Yeah. So the shear strain will be proportional to the shear stress. So if we need to remove the proportionality symbol, you should just add an constant over here. So always we call as the resisting shear strain and the shear stress is proportional to the product of the strain rate and the viscosity. So this mu will tell you the value of the viscosity, what it is. So if we go to the equation here, so this is the mu which will tell you the viscosity level. The shear stress will be proportional to the shear strain. right? So it's, if you need to remove the proportionality symbol, you should add on a constant value, and the constant value here will be mu, which will be nothing but our viscosity. So varying the shear stress, you will get the varied strain, and depending upon the shear stress and shear strain, the viscosity of that particular fluid will vary, subjected to the external electric field or the magnetic field, based on whether it is an ER fluid or an MR fluid. So if you take a graph and plot the value of shear stress along y-axis and shear strain along x-axis, so it varies proportionally, means it will be having a linear graph. So if you take somewhere in between the slope value, it will provide you the viscosity. So as the strain and the stress is varying, even the slope value which increases will show you the enhancement in the viscosity of the fluid. So this variation happens only when you have subjected either the electric field or magnetic field to the smart fluids. If you haven't subjected any electrical field or magnetic field, then the shear stress will be equal to the shear strain, and there will be no change in the viscosity. Okay, so it will be a constant value with no change. So that is the difference between Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluid. So here, this is the thing what you have to understand. So I told you what is the difference between shear stress and shear strain in the previous class only, when we were speaking about the squeeze mode as well as the shear mode. So in shear mode, one plate will be moving, another plate will be stationary, and in case of squeeze mode, both the plates will be moving. So related to this relative movement, the shear stress will be induced in the fluid with respect to the direction in which the magnetic field is subjected. Okay, so this is the cause for our shear stress and shear strain. So the same concept now has been put forward in our composition analysis of the fluid. Is it clear until now? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is how the relation between the stress, the shear stress and the shear strain comes into picture. Here, please be careful. We are not telling about the stress and strain. It is shear strain and shear stress, because you have one plate fixed, another plate moving in shear mode. And in squeeze mode, you have both the plates moving. And hence, it is shear strain and shear stress, not only the stress and strain. So once this is done, so the response related to the shear stress and strain is shown as shown in the graph here 4.1. So this I have explained you already. So this is widely acknowledged as an approximation of ER and MR fluids. Okay, and are non-Newtonian. So this is non-Newtonian. By looking into the graph only, you can tell that it is a non-Newtonian. Why? The viscosity is keeping on changing. If you plot a graph and there is no variation with respect to stress and strain, then viscosity also will not change. Then only you call that as a Newtonian fluid. But whereas when you have the change in the shear stress and shear strain, obviously the viscosity also increases, and this is the nature of a non-Newtonian fluid. Okay, so when if the field, when it, so it will be a non-Newtonian fluid because the velocity changes. But when there is no field at all, no field at all in the sense when there is no electric field or magnetic field, then there will be no change in the viscosity, because there will be no change in the shear stress and shear strain. And as a result, at that case only it will be a Newtonian fluid. But when we study as a smart fluid in application, it will be by default non-Newtonian, because this effect will help in increasing the viscosity aspect of it. Okay, so this is the thing you should understand, the difference between Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluid. So keeping this concept in mind, so now I'm speaking about some applications. So however, in most applications, what happens is the field induced in the given smart fluid, okay, so it develops the shear stress which is much larger than the theoretical value as shown in the equation. So here the equation shows, so this is the shear stress and this is the shear strain. So in experimental, when you are using any smart fluid device, in actual when you check into, right, the shear stress value what you will be getting will be more than that of the theoretical value of the shear stress what you have calculated. So by using some basic models, we haven't gone to basic models, okay, after studying fluid composition and discovery, then we'll go for the basic model. So in this basic model, we have some equations related to the yield stress and yield strain. So through those equations, we'll calculate theoretically what is the yield stress and yield strain. So we will conclude that this is the range of the value of yield stress and yield strain for this particular ER fluid, yeah, MR fluid. But this is a theoretical calculation using mathematical model. But in actual, when an experimentation process is going on, or if you are running a smart fluid device, either using ER or MR fluid, what they are claiming is the value of the shear stress or the shear strain, what we get in actual will be always more than that of the theoretical value what we will be calculating based on the mathematical modeling. So this is a thing which has been explained here. And one more thing is zero field. What do you mean by zero field? No electric field or no magnetic field. In case of ER fluid, zero field means no electric field. In case of MR fluid, zero fluid means no magnetic field. Okay. So in zero fluid, what the assumption we have assumed is the particles are usually assumed to be uniformly distributed. Okay. So now if we go back to our ER fluid diagram, here how we are showing an ER fluid diagram, you will be having a bottom plate and a top plate, and here the particles are arranged in random, but arranged in random. Okay, so it is arranged in random and then you will apply the electric field so that it gets the required orientation. But what the assumption now we will be doing is, when there is no charge of electric field, we will assume that the particles are arranged in a uniform manner. It won't be in random way. Only when you subject, if this is the ER fluid, only when you subject the electric field, the particles here should be in random. When there is no electrical field, then we should assume that the particles which are there in the ER fluid is distributed uniformly. So this is the difference what one has to understand. Okay, so at zero field, we assume that all the particles are uniformly distributed. But in few cases, but in some applications, usually what happens is, normally the flow of the fluid is sufficient to prevent settling. So sometimes what happens is, the assumption is it has to be, the particle has to be kept uniform, distributed. But in some applications, normally they will adjust in such a way that the flow of fluid is sufficient to make the particles to be normally distributed. Suppose you have a fluid and you have some particles which are distributed randomly. So you will make the flow of the fluid in such a way that by tilting or applying slight pressure, the fluid flows and you see that it gets tilted and arranged in a uniform distribution. Once the particles are in uniform distribution, then you can omit the pressure what you had applied before. Okay. If it is not arranged in random, then you should try somehow to adjust the particles in a uniform distribution, or else if you try to tilt the fluid media also, you can arrange the particles. If it is not possible, slight pressure application can also help in moving the particles in uniform distribution. So this basic adjustment of the smart fluid before operating is very much essential. And also sometimes a gentle stirring may be required to redistribute the particle. First option is to tilt slightly the fluid medium and see that the particles are uniformly distributed. If that is not happening, then the second option is to apply a slight pressure so that the particles will come into the streamline in proper distribution. Even though if it is not working, then you have to use a stirrer and slightly stir the particles or slightly move the fluid until and unless the particles within it are held stationary. Okay, so this way is needed to give or to obtain the particle distribution properly. So it stabilizes the particle distribution, and it helps to have a proper sedimentation process. So for this, these are the initial adjustments what we have to do. So you should be knowing when there is no field, how the fluid will be. When there is a field, external field, how the fluid will be, right? So then in the zero field, what are the adjustments to be done? So which are the possible ways of adjustment? If one doesn't work, you should try with the second. If second doesn't work, you should try with the third, until and unless all the particles are stabilized in the given fluid. Stabilized in the sense it should be uniformly dispersed throughout across a given fluid. So this adjustment is very much essential. So once it is done, what you have to understand is always achieving zero field viscosity. Okay, so it is generally advantageous to have zero field viscosity with a small and with as small as possible. So why? Because zero field viscosity could be achieved with the low amount of stress and low amount of strain, right? So if you have a high stress and high strain, obviously it will increase the slope and the viscosity will be higher. So when there is no field, obviously the viscosity will be constant or same, right? So it is always advisable and it is advantageous to maintain a minimum viscosity at the zero electrical field. So you will adjust the field initially in such a way that the particles are distributed uniformly. Due to uniform distribution, the viscosity of the fluid also remains constant. And the value of viscosity will not be very high in this because there is no stress and no strain due to no subjection of the external field. When there is no external field at all, the stress and strain will not come into picture. So the fluid will be having a constant viscosity and it will be a Newtonian fluid. And under Newtonian fluid, the viscosity will be of a very small value. Okay. But when you have stabilized the given material with a stagnant or a small viscosity at zero field, when you start applying the pressure or the external field, then it results in increasing the viscosity. So increasing the viscosity is needed for different type of applications. So why we are digging so much related to the viscosity is because the main change in the smart fluid is with respect to viscosity only. So it can increase or decrease the viscosity. So all the applications are based on enhancing the viscosity. So to enhance the viscosity, you should subject an external field. So before operating the device, you should see that the device is stabilized. And to stabilize, you should see that all the particles are uniformly distributed. So to make the particle distributed, you should not subject any external field. Only when you don't subject external field, the particles will be uniformly distributed and the viscosity will be constant throughout, and the amount of viscosity which is subjected in that material will be very much less. So once the given device is stable, then you can slightly apply the electric field or the magnetic field based on whether it is ER or MR fluid. Then you do the working process and the phenomena for different applications as required. So this is the same thing as we do. You have studied this one, metallurgy, right? So in measurement and metrology. So what we do, any instrument before measuring, we do the calibration process. So that calibration process will make to set the equipment to zero value so that you can get the reliable value. So if we use the equipment without doing the calibration, then we can't think that the readings what we are getting is exactly right. Similarly here, before operating a smart fluid device, we have to see that the device what we are using is stabilized. So to be stabilized, you should have the particles uniformly distributed without electrical field and with constant viscosity. Once it is achieved that the device is stable, then we can apply the external field, run the equipment as per the application. So this is what we need to do it. So for all the analysis and design of the smart fluid, we will always assume here the particles are uniformly distributed until it is subjected to an external stimuli. So the external stimuli here is nothing but the ER electrical field or the magnetical field. So in case of ER fluid, the effect is given by the electrical field, and in case of MR fluid, the effect is given by the magnetic field. From here onwards, you should understand, if I use the word, if I use the letter E, it is electrical field, and if I use the letter H, then it is associated to the magnetic fluid. Okay. So this effect will make the particles to form either chains or fibrils. So what is this chains or fibrils called? I've shown you this already in our slide, right? So here you can see this is an ER fluid. So this is randomly arranged particles. So when you subject the electrical field, these are arranged in a proper sequence, right? So these are nothing but called as the fibrils. Okay, so subjection of the electrical and magnetic field will help in forming this fibrils, or it is also called as a chain. So chain, the same thing. So this is called as a chain, or this is called as a fibril. So this chain or fibril will be done with respect to the direction of the field in which you are applying. Okay, so this is how the fibril or the chain called as. From here after, if I call it as a fibril or a chain, it is nothing but the arrangement of the particles within the fluid with respect to subjection of either electrical field or magnetic field. So this you should understand. All these we are studying under the fluid composition and its behavior only. The first mechanism of the smart fluids we are dealing. So if they ask you to list out the mechanism of the smart fluid, you have to list out all. And if sometimes they ask you to explain only fluid composition and behavior. So you should be able to explain the fluid composition and behavior with this graph and equation properly. So this is the thing. So where we were with respect to the arrangement of the particles, which will be either chain in the form of chain or fibrils, which is due to the electric field or magnetic field. If I tell as H, it is a magnetic field, and if I tell as E, it is the electrical field. And I told you that the response to this ER fluid or to MR fluid will be in milliseconds, right? So the process of the entire vibration also occurs in very few milliseconds. Once you subject the electrical field or a pressure, automatically it forms a chain or a fibril within a matter of milliseconds, not even a second. In a matter of millisecond, it can shoot up a chain or a fibril. Okay. So this will be possible only after application of the external field. Without the application of the external field, this process of vibration or the chain will not be done. And what is the time required for it? It is just the millisecond. That also you should understand. And next concept what you have to understand is, when there is no motion of the fluid or the walls of its container, what happens is the fibrils are static structures and span the gap between the walls if the particle fraction is large enough. So when there is no motion means the fluid is not subjected to the external pressure. So when there is no external pressure or the electric field, what happens is the fibrils or the particles will form a static structure. It will not be moving. Static always refers to stagnant and dynamic always refers for the movement. So these structures will be held stationary and there will be a particular gap between the walls. So if we go back to again the same diagram, so you can see these are the chain and fibrils. So when the fluid is not flowing, what happens is these structures will be held stationary, means these structures will be static. So in between these structures, there will be some gap, uniformly distributed gap between the static structures. So that is what being told over here. Right? So there will be some gap between the walls if the particle fraction is large enough. If there is a huge space in between for accumulation or piling up of the structure, then even the gap will be large. If the given smart fluid is compacted within a small device, then if you have many particles, then you will be having n number of arrangements of these structures, and hence the gap between that will be very small. So if we go back to the diagram again here, see here you have three structures and there is some uniform gap in between. If the given device is very small and if you have more particles, then more number of structures will be there and the gap will be reduced. So it mainly depends upon the wider space for the fluid media and lesser particles. If you have lesser particles, you will be having the structures with large gap. So if you have more particles in the fluid media, so then you'll be having large structures with small amount of gap. So this is how you have to understand. Is this clear? Any doubts?
No.
Yeah. Yes. So this is related to the gap between the walls in the particle fraction. All these comes again under the composition and the behavior. We are just understanding the composition of the particle within the fluid and how does it behave when it is subjected to field and when it is not subjected to any field. Okay, so this is the reason basically why fluids with low particle fraction exhibits weak ER and MR effects. If it again depends upon the fluid composition, how we are defining the fluid composition. I told you that 70% will be the fluid and 30% will be the particles. So if you have the particles, the solid particles, which are called as inert carrier liquids or additives, if the composition of the particle is very less and the fluid is more, then that smart fluid cannot exhibit a good ER effect, because the additives which are the dominant one in the fluid are in less number. Since they are in less number, they just form very small structures with huge gap. And as a result, the viscosity of it also will come down and the ER or the MR effect will not be so good. But if you have a composition with right combination of 70% fluid and 30% particles, then these particles will be uniformly distributed, and when subjected to external field, it forms a proper structure with reasonable gapping, so that viscosity will be as per the requirement of the value and it provides the good ER or MR effect. So one has to be very careful in understanding the fluid composition and making the composition in right calculation, so that the smart fluid what you are using will behave in a proper way to give the required MR fluid effect or the ER fluid effect. So this is what you have to understand. Hope this is clear until now, the fluid combinations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in the next class, we'll be dealing related to, there are few more slides, 2 more slides related to the fluid composition. Okay, so this we have to complete it, or else if you give me 5 minutes, I can just cover up this, or else again the connectivity with the previous class will be difficult. Shall I continue for 5 more minutes? Hello? Hello? If any problem, I'll continue in the next class.
No, ma'am, you can continue.
Okay, okay. So now we were discussing in combination with respect to ER and MR fluid, how the composition of the fluid should be. So now we are just putting forward related to our MR fluid. So in MR fluid, the formation of the particle chain occurs when magnetically polarizable particles move into alignment with the applied field. So here also polarization comes into picture, but it is not with respect to electrical polarization, it is magnetic polarization. This also will be having some hysteresis loop with respect to polarity, but there will be no remnant polarization to retain the polarization in it. But it exhibits the polarization, it attracts the particle, and it arranged to form a structure with proper gap. So only the thing what you have to understand is, in case of MR fluid, the structure is formed due to the polarization of the particles with respect to magnetic field. Okay, and due to polarization of the particles in the magnetic field, the north and the south pole attracts, and it results in the formation of the structure. So if we go back here, this is electrorheological. Okay, let us go back for magnetic. See, so this is magnetorheological fluid. So these are the ion particles which will be random. So when you apply the magnetic field, the north pole will attract the south pole will attract the north pole. Like this, it gets attracted and the structure will be formed, and you'll be having a uniform gap in between when you have mixed the particle and the fluid in the combination of 70:30. So then you get a good MR fluid effect. So here the polarization of the particle takes place due to magnetic field. So all the ion particles are polarized with respect to magnetic flux, and due to north and south pole, these gets attracted and help in the formation of the structure. Similarly, when we go for ER fluid, okay, so here only I will explain. In ER fluid, again the particles will be in random. When it's subjected to electrical field, polarization takes place. The negative and the positive charge will get attracted, and this makes the structure. So here the structure is aligned due to positive and negative charges, whereas in case of MR fluid, the structure is aligned due to the north pole and the south pole. Only that difference you should understand. So that is what being told over here. So in MR fluid, it is due to the opposite pole attraction. Okay, whereas in case of ER fluid, it is due to the accumulation of the positive and the negative charges. So this is the main difference you have to understand. But in case of electrical polarization of the particle, it is seen that more research attention is being focused. Why? In case of MR fluid, the drawback is subjecting the magnetic field continuously and providing a uniform magnetic flux for a particular period of time is a little bit risky task. But whereas in case of ER fluid, you can easily supply the electrical field as and when required for particular period of time, and as more research and attention is focused on ER fluid, because both might be good, but economical aspect, how much you can relay and how feasible and it is better to supply the input, all this you should understand. So when we compare all these aspects, So we feel ER fluid is better than that of MR fluid, because any device, if it has to come into market, it has to see for large scale production and huge customer satisfaction. So if there is any problem or drawback, then that product could not be used in a longer run. And hence, more focus is now today on our ER fluid smart devices. And hence, here you can see that ER fluids are divided into two classes depending upon the mechanism by which it is being polarized. Okay. So upon the mechanism by which the particle polarization and interaction occur. So based on polarization could be done in 2-3 way methods. Okay. And after polarization, how the ions interact with each other. So based on this, there are two mechanisms. So one type in that is, one type of ER fluid mainly requires the presence of some amount of water in order to manifest an electrorheological response. So I told you, based on the mechanism involved in polarization, ER fluid can be classified into two types. So one is the ER fluid in which some amount or the presence of water is needed to manifest or to check the response to the electrorheological field. Okay, so to see how it is responding to electrorheological fluid, so you need some presence of water. So this is one type of ER fluid. So in other type of ER fluid, it is also called as an anhydrous ER fluid. If it is anhydrous ER fluid, it is obviously understood no hydro element in it, means no water content. So without water content, also we can observe the chain formation of the particle by using different mechanism. So based on the mechanism used, we have two types. One is the hydrous ER fluid, in the sense where the presence of small amount of water is very much essential to check the electrorheological response. And the second one is the anhydrous ER fluid, which means it doesn't contain water in order to check or manifest the electrorheological response. So this is the concept. Now we are speaking with respect to ER fluid only, because it is more better than that of MR. First, we analyze the total composition and the behavioral analysis of the smart fluid with respect to ER and MR. Since ER is more better than that of MR, then we came to classify the ER fluid into two categories. One is hydrous ER fluid and the second one is anhydrous ER fluid. So that's it. And yeah, so this is the last slide. In the next class, we can deal with the discovery and early developments. So finally, here we have to see that the magnetorheological fluid will differ from magnetic fluids. Okay, so why? Because it contains smaller size of the order. Magnetorheological fluid will contain particles in micro level, but whereas in case of magnetic fluid, it contains the particles in the nano level. And hence this is the difference if we speak about magnetorheological fluid and magnetic fluid. I told you in case of MR fluid, the particles could be either in macro scale or in nano scale. But what we have discussed until now is in macro scale only. Okay, if you have a fluid, smart fluid, with the particles in nano level, then we call that as a magnetic fluid. So you should be knowing the difference between the MR fluid, magnetorheological fluid, and the magnetic fluid. And in this case, the size of the particle will be of the order 10 nanometer. So now we are just putting one point related to magnetic field, because until now we studied about magnetorheological fluid. So in case of magnetic fluids, wherein the particle size is 10 nanometer, what it makes is, so the magnetic fluid instead experiences a body force proportional to the magnetic field gradient. So you'll be having an top plate and a bottom plate, and you will be having a liquid media in which you will be having the particles in nanometer. So due to this, the magnetic fluid will experience a body force, and the body force which is there in the fluid will be directly proportional to the magnetic field what you will be applying, because the nanometer size particles are very much dominant than that of the micro level particles which are there in magnetorheological fluid. I told you that particles will be dominant more than that of the fluid with respect to the yield stress and the yield strength. And due to this adverse effect, the amount of magnetic field applied will make the body to be proportional to that magnetic force easily, and it responds very quickly than that of the magnetorheological fluid, because the particles in nano size can respond more quickly and provide the effect quickly and use the total magnetic field applied to make the fluid magnetic. Okay, so this is more better and feasible than that of magnetorheological fluid. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Apart from that, either ER or MR fluid will flow when there is always a relative motion between the walls. So from fluid to flow, you should be having some relative motion across the plate. So you'll be having a top plate and the bottom plate. Based on the modes, one plate could be moving or both the plate could be moving. So this relative motion will cause due to the moving of the plates with respect to the fluid. And due to this movement, the shear strain will occur in the fluid. And due to shear strain which occurs in the fluid, the shear stress will be developed in the entire fluid. So you should be knowing how the shear strain occurs and how it is developed and how it is distributed. So this mainly causes due to the relative motion between the walls of the container. So if you don't have relative motion between the walls of the container, then shear strain will not occur and there will be no distribution of the shear stress in the given smart fluid. So this is the other concept. And lastly, what I want to tell you is the ER or the MR shear stress will always increase with respect to the field strength what you are subjecting. It could be the electrical field in case of ER and it could be the magnetic field in case of MR. And is always proportional to the field strength raised to a power between 1 and 2. So this we will speak you related to this in case of basic model. Only thing you understand that the ER or the shear stress always increases with respect to the value of the external field you are subjecting. You are providing an high electrical field, then it results in high shear stress value. Right? And similarly, if you apply a high electrical field, then it provides a high shear stress value for your ER fluid. So mainly it depends upon the input, the output also will vary. Right? So these are the thing I wanted to tell you. So this is just a small example with the value of current needed to get the required response and nothing much more. But this is a very important topic what we discussed today. So this is one of the mechanism of our ER and MR fluid, which is nothing but the fluid composition and behavior. So it tells you what should be the composition of the ER or the MR fluid, right? So with the proper composition, how the behavior of the fluid changes. So we analyze this in general with respect to Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluid. So after that, we tell that the ER fluid is more better than that of the MR fluid. So then we went on with the classification of the ER fluid. Later, we now are telling that the magnetic fluid is better than MR fluid because here the particles will be in the nano level in case of instead of micro level. So how it will be benefited, we spoke. And later, we dealt about the two classifications of the ER fluid, which is one type, which is hydrous ER fluid and anhydrous ER fluid. After that, magnetorheological fluid will be better than magnetic fluid. We dealt about this also, and how the shear stress increases in ER and MR with respect to the electrical field or the magnetic field subjected as an input. So this is about the total concept of fluid composition and behavior. So in the next class, we will be dealing with the second mechanism, which is discovery and early development. So what are the researchers, what they have done until now related to the fluid, smart fluids, we will be discussing here. So how the researchers started, what they invented, so what are the things which were achieved right from 1940s, and what were the development associated related to ER fluids. This will be doing in the next class. Hope it was clear, guys. Any doubts? I took your 5-10 minutes. Sorry, in the beginning there was some technical snacks, so I thought let me cover the topic, and you people also supported. Okay, please do it. So we have done with one part of the mechanism. Any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So any doubts, anytime you can ask me, you can mail, you call, you put a message in Google Classroom also. So kindly now answer your attendance. Danush,
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun,
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun, Mohan Ambal,
Yes, ma'am.
Srinidhi,
Yes, ma'am.
Sandesh,
Yes, ma'am.
Sukrut,
Yes, ma'am.
and Sri Harsha.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So please take care, and we'll meet in the next class. Until there, have a nice day. Be safe, and bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, bye-bye. I hope all of you have written your name and USN in the chat room. I forgot to ask.